Hey guys, welcome back. This is Cam. Today I'm going to repot my Dendrobium kingianum casablanca, and this is the gigantic Dendrobium that I have, and I let it grow to a bigger size. And this year is no different. I'm just gonna go ahead and uppot the plant. I'm not gonna divide it. As you can tell, I don't like to divide plants when it's unnecessary. So I just let it grow until I decided to divide one day. Now this is the plan. It's a huge plant with maybe 40 something canes in here, and this is the one that we are going to repot today. Hopefully you guys can see the plant. This is a very huge plant. Inside there's some avocado flower that dropped onto the plant, and I grow outdoor. I don't have anything to protect them, and so everything drops on them, leaves, all that stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and repot this today to a bigger size. And I decided today we're just gonna go ahead and upgrade this pot to a 3-gallon pot. I know many of you guys say, well, Dendrobium like to be root bounded. They don't like to be potted to that big of a pot. You know, if you guys can see other people that grow in Dendrobium, I've seen people grow in a 20-gallon pot and it's just perfectly fine. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go ahead and upgrade this to a bigger pot. Now let's go ahead and bring you guys to a unpotting process. Let's take a look at the root system. And if you guys could see the tag, this is the full name. I'll write it down for you guys. And I think I repotted this back in April 21. So definitely worth repotting again. The roots is stuck to the pot. I went ahead and gave it some water. Hopefully that will loosen up the roots a little bit for me. I've been letting it sit out here for a couple of days now. I think it's a little dry, and with a little bit of water, the roots should be able to come out easily. If you guys have the same problem, you can soak the plant for 1 or 2 hours, and hopefully the root will come loose. And it's already losing it. So okay, hopefully you guys can see the massive root ball right here. It's not root bounded. A lot of critters. That's the problem when you grow outdoor. You get a bunch of these critters here that just want to munch on the decayed bark. And so that's exactly what it did. It's living in there. It's living in its ecosystem in there. The bark is not fully spent, but I'm going to go ahead and repot them anyway. Now I could just take this entire pot, this entire plant, and dunk it to a bigger pot. But I don't want to risk having half decayed bark and half still good sized bark. So I'll just go ahead and repot this entire thing. Try to remove as much media as possible. I'm just gonna gently remove the root. It's not as root bounded as people would thought. Again, this thing only been here for about a couple of years. And I remember the last time I repotted this, I have to cut out some of the roots because there was too many roots. And I think that's what I did. I know a lot of you guys are gonna say, you shouldn't be cutting out any orchid roots. Well, if you have a healthy orchid, you can sacrifice a few. Not gonna hurt the orchids. So you can see this bark is still pretty good. Not really decayed yet, but I'll go ahead and just change it out. This bark can go sit in my garden and let it decay slowly. You don't necessarily have to remove 100% of all the bark. Just remove as much as possible. Even if you have some bark in there, it's fine. It's not going to hurt the plant. And the next time you repot it, you can hose off all the decaying bark with a jet stream. I'm probably not going to be able to remove all the bark in here. Sorry, my voice is a little under the weather. We've been having a night temperature and day temperature of 20-degree difference in Southern California, and that's what happened. Get a little sick. You can see so much root, massive root system in here. This is what I meant by sometimes you can sacrifice a few if you have that many roots. Take your time if you want to remove every bark. Don't need to rush. Oh, there's one natural division there. It just come out. That's fine. You'll get some canes that just come loose while unpotting it or repotting it. Perfectly fine. You can grow that little cane there and it will put out new growth. In the past, I love to divide plants and give it to friends. But then I realized the more I divide, the less spike I have. So then there's a couple of years I just let it grow naturally and it just grow. This one is losing it. It's already decay. This one it's already coming out, so I'm not gonna fight it. Just let it come out. If it decided to go out on its own, it's gonna come out on its own. I think those canes there, those from years ago that I repotted and divided, and they just come out loose now. Okay, I think that would be all. Let me get the rest of the bark out underneath. As you can see, the media is not that well spent. It is a little spent, but not that well spent. A lot of it is already decayed. You can see it's like become a very nice mulch now, very nice compost. And that's what I'm gonna do is leave this to compost. And I'll leave me with a giant plant. All right, let me go ahead and rinse this off and then I'll be back. Alrighty. So while I was hosing off the roots, one of the cane came out, and guess what? It has multiple keikis, right? 4 keikis, one that has already 2 keikis together. So I'm just gonna pot this out, let it grow. Maybe when the keikis get bigger, I can just separate the keikis and put on its own pot. That's what happened when this bulb got loose from the main plant, and it just sending out spike as for survival purposes. So that's what I did, and I'm glad I did. Now I have more plants to share with friends. All right, so this is how it looks after I clean it out. You can see the root ball here, gigantic root ball. Let me zoom in for you guys because you can see the better look. Look at this gigantic root ball. A lot of roots, a lot of healthy roots. Okay, so you guys worry about, you know, your plant is gonna suffer by putting it into a bigger pot. Think again, okay? I repot this back in April of 21 and we're 2023. And when I repot this into this 6-inch pot here, it was half of the size of the plants right now. And for a lot of you guys think, well, it's not good, right? So, you know, I'm gonna pot into this pot right here, this gigantic pot here, this time. Let me show it to you guys. I'm gonna dunk it into this pot here. This is a 3-gallon pot, and that still have plenty of room for growth. Okay, and a lot of you guys probably say that, well, it's too big of a pot, right? You can see there's still about that much space. Okay, about 1 finger of space, and you know, I'm gonna allow this plant to grow for the next 2 years, 3 years before repotting it again. Therefore, I need a bigger pot. Okay, and if you're gonna worry about your roots gonna rot, the only reason why your root rot is because you have a watering problem. All right, I will show you an orchid that nursery grow in a probably, I think it's either a 10-gallon or a 20-gallon pot, and that thing is humongous. Okay, so let me go ahead and repot this into this pot right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go straight with bark this time. I don't have any rocks with me, so this is a 3-gallon of bark. This kind of bark that I use. It's not big size like the last one I used, but it should be fine. As long as I control the watering properly, I shouldn't have any rot issues. Now I'm going to position this plant in the middle of the pot. I need a little more bark in the bottom. I know a lot of you guys think that, well, that's a lot of media that you just dumped in there. Won't you afraid that it's going to cause root rot? Yeah, I know. Like I told you, if you can control your watering, you don't have a rot issues. The only reason why you have rot is you water too much. Kingianum, during summertime, you can water every day because I grow outdoor. If you grow indoor, depending on your climate, okay, once every 2-3 days, it will be fine. I grow outdoor, I can water every day if I want to, and it's still gonna be fine, especially when temperature goes over 90 degrees. You don't want to plant this thing too deep into the pot. You want the base just sitting right on top of the edge of the pot so that it has a chance to dry it out. The only good thing about using smaller size of bark is it's easier to push into the root ball. The bigger size might not be that easy. You know, tug it in a little bit so that the plant doesn't wobble. It does have a lot of root system, so we'll talk about how to maintain it, how to care for it after I repot this. And I still need to top it up with a little bit of media. I don't want the root to expose that much. Okay, folks, there you have it. Fully repotted. You can see the media and the rhizome there, the base there, just sitting right on top of the media. That's what you want. You don't want to bury it because there's a lot of new growth going to come out there. Okay, so that's how the entire plant looks like. Some of the root exposed is fine because some of them are climbers. Like this one right here, climber. There's nothing you can do about it. When you have some climber cakeys, there's really nothing you can do. This cane right here, I think got chewed up by snail last year. I think this year I gotta treat my snail problem. I do have a lot of snail in the springtime, and I think I need to treat it. Alrighty, so that's done with repotting, and let's go ahead and talk about how to care for it. Okay. Now let's talk about your Dendrobium kingianum. This is another division that I made years ago from one single cane, maybe 2 canes. I think one rotted it, and it produced these canes for me. Now, kingianum loves bright sun, bright light. Not bright sun, sorry, bright light. Okay? It can tolerate maybe up to 80% of the sun. So in the summertime, when it gets really hot, you just want to shade it a little bit. If you grow outdoor under the tree where it gets enough shade, it should grow just fine under that tree. Or you grow indoor, you're gonna need to provide some very bright light for your kingianum, or else it will not bloom for you. I done in the past where when I used to grow in an apartment indoor, I did not provide enough light, it did not bloom for me. All right, kingianum needs a very bright light, maybe 7 to 8 times more than your typical phalaenopsis. Okay. And during growth season, you want to feed this. Kingianum, you can feed this every time you water. Now, that doesn't mean that you water every day, you're going to feed it every day. At least minimum once a week. Okay? I feed my Kingianum once a week with my homemade fertilizer. In the past, I have also used pellets, the slow release one, and it worked just fine when I used to grow indoor. Now that I grow outdoor, I think it's a lot easier, but if I just hook it up to a water hose, a garden hose, with my sprayer mix, and everything's done automatically. I water and fertilize at the same time. So at least once a week, you want to feed your Kingianum. During growth season, you want to give it high nitrogen so that it can produce more bigger canes, and that's what you want. You want to feed it. Now, when it gets to fall and winter, you want to lower that nitrogen. You want to start feeding it more on the phosphorus side and potassium side so that it can get ready to bloom for you. Okay. Now again, Kingianum, like any other orchids, you water when it's about to dry. Kingianum can tolerate dryness for a few days, but once it gets too dry, the cane starts to shrivel up. And when the cane starts to shrivel up, you're probably not gonna like how it looks. The appearance is not that appealing, okay? If you want a firm, fat, juicy cane, then you want to water it when it's about to get dry. Now that doesn't mean that you have to water it, when it's still moist, when it's about to dry. How do you tell? It's gonna be based on your environment, okay? If you live in a humid environment compared to my dry environment, then you're gonna water less frequent than I do here. I water my kingianum every day when temperature gets about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? That's very hot. And when it gets a little cooler, I water less. Once every 2-3 days. In the winter time, I water once a week. Sometimes once every 10 days. It depends on the weather. Now that doesn't mean that your plants cannot sit in a little bit of wet environment for a little short period of time. Again, kingianum can tolerate many different environments, and so if you live in Southern California, you can successfully grow this outdoor under a little bit of shade perfectly just fine. Okay, I don't know about other zone, so if you grow in kingianum, please let me know how you care for your kingianum in the comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And soon I'm going to be able to give this to my friend, and they're going to enjoy another division of mine. I don't know how many division I gave it away from this one kingianum that I bought about 7-8 years ago when I first started collecting orchids. And after about 5-6 years, I decided to let the orchid grow bigger instead of keep dividing it to a smaller pot. Now, if you have a space problem, then yes, divide into a smaller pot and just give it to your friend or share with your friend or sell it if you want. Okay, and so that's what I did. I split it and shared with friends, and most of them still growing under my friend's care, and mine just getting bigger and bigger. Hopefully next year is gonna grow more canes and more bigger for me. This year I get about 40 spike on account, and hopefully next year I could get more than 40 spikes. If I can get more than 40 spikes, that's perfect. Okay, so again, you need bright light, water when it's about to get dry. They don't like to be sitting in soggy water, so don't let it sit in soggy wet environment for too long. A short period of time, it's okay. Feed it regularly, at least once a week during growth seasons. And in the winter time and by the end of fall, you want to withhold high nitrogen fertilizer. You want to start feeding it more in the phosphorus and potassium side. Those two numbers has to be higher than the nitrogens. This way, it can bloom for you more. Now, I can control my phosphorus and potassium because I use homemade fertilizers and I don't use the one specialized for orchid. So you're gonna water with orchid fertilizer. You're gonna look for high phosphorus and high potassium, which is the P and the K. And it's for nitrogen. You don't want high nitrogen for winter time and fall. This Dendrobium kingianum usually bloom in the spring season. So after Christmas or so, you're gonna start seeing spikes everywhere for these kingianum, and it can go as late as end of January before you see some spike, depending on your temperature. All right. So thank you guys. If you guys have any questions or concern or comments, please let me know in the comment below. I will answer them accordingly. And if you like this video, please share with your friends, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell notification. I'll try to post video more often, and hopefully you guys can grow your orchid successfully. Thank you. See you.